behind every celebration hides a shadow no one dares to see. Tonight, we uncover the chilling side of a joy that once blinded millions. A story of fire, light, and hidden tragedy, where beauty turned into horror. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It helps us reach more seekers of truth. And tell us in the comments, what do you think of today's case? Or suggest another mystery you'd like us to bring to light on this channel. On the night of July 4th, the sky exploded in red, white, and blue. Music blended with laughter, fireworks echoed through the air, and joy seemed to flood every corner of the celebration. But just outside the crowd, Raul Guillen stood alone, clutching a handful of fireworks, waiting for his turn to light the sky. He never got the chance. From the shadows, someone approached in silence. A single gunshot cracked, swallowed instantly by the roar of celebration. No one noticed Raul collapse to the ground. What was meant to be a night of light and freedom had just become the beginning of a chilling mystery. Calls to Raul went unanswered. Days passed. Concern turned into fear, and fear into horror. When the investigation finally began, it revealed a tangled web of jealousy, vengeance, and a plan calculated to strike beneath the cover of fireworks. The only question left hanging: why Raul? Who wanted him dead on a night meant for life and joy? Far from the crime scene, another story was unfolding, one just as dark. Lauren Wambles was born on March 12, 1997, in Dothan, Alabama. Her childhood was anything but stable. Her mother worked as a dancer, her father was absent, and she was raised by her grandmother and her young aunt Erin, barely 11 years her senior. Their bond was less mother and daughter, more like sisters clinging to each other against the world. Lauren had the kind of beauty that turned heads, blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, and a confidence that made people believe she was destined for something bigger. She dreamed of fame, of lights, of cameras. But as the years passed, rebellion replaced innocence. She skipped school, broke rules, and began living on her own terms, no matter the cost. Then, at 16, fate came knocking. A man approached her on the street, introducing himself as a talent scout. With smooth words, he promised her a future of stardom and handed her a business card. "Call me when you're 18, he said. Erin felt the danger immediately, warning her niece to stay away. But Lauren was headstrong, and danger only fueled her defiance. On her 18th birthday, her family gathered at Applebee's. It was a night filled with laughter, cake, and songs. They never imagined it would be the last time they'd see Lauren smile. The very next day, she vanished. Hours of panic turned into days of searching. Then came a message that shattered her family's hope. Lauren herself had sent a text. She was heading to Las Vegas with the man she had met years earlier. Her decision was final. She was entering the world of adult films. It was 2015, and the industry was at its peak, billions of dollars flowing, new faces chewed up and discarded every day. For Lauren, it was a tempting escape, quick money, promised fame, and a new identity. She re-emerged under a glittering name, Aubrey Gold. But the shine was only on the surface. Behind the glamorous facade awaited a descent into a darker world, a spiral of secrets, exploitation, and a fate far more tragic than anyone could have imagined. It didn't take long after entering the industry for her image to be completely reshaped. The agency wasted no time polishing her. Perfect teeth, styled hair, smooth skin free of scars, and expensive clothing that gave her a fabricated glow. Thus, she was reborn, a dazzling version under the name Aubrey Gold. She plunged headfirst into this dark world. In just 6 months, she appeared in more than 30 films, finding herself working with the biggest companies in the field. But behind the cameras, the pressure was crushing. To cope, many turned to drugs and alcohol. Aubrey was no exception. It started with marijuana, but soon it wasn't enough. Alcohol and stronger substances followed. At first, no one noticed. But then came the late arrivals, the long disappearances into the bathroom, the days when she could barely stand on set. The illusion was breaking. Studios began to turn their backs. Productions collapsed, and by 2017, the final blow came. Her agency took legal action, stripping her of all financial rights. Even the films she had already made no longer earned her a cent. The glittering mask crumbled, and Aubrey with it. She paid to terminate her contract and walked away with nothing. There was no future, no name left. She returned simply to who she had been all along, Lauren Wambles. With no future and no money, she had nowhere to go but back to her grandmother and aunt's home in Alabama. They welcomed her with open arms, desperate to save her from collapse. She found a job as a waitress at a small restaurant, and there, she met a young man her age. Her family described him as kind, though his name remained in the shadows. By the time she was 20, Lauren was carrying his child. For the first time, it felt like a chance at redemption. Motherhood awakened something inside her. She quit drugs, grew closer to her family, and began to dream of a different life. After months of anticipation, her daughter was born, Alice. For a brief moment, life seemed to be heading in the right direction. Her dark past faded into memory, replaced by her daughter's smile. But the past never lets go. Addiction returned, creeping back into her life. This time, others noticed. Her boyfriend's mother, distrustful and convinced Lauren was unfit, reported her to the authorities. The verdict was merciless. Alice was taken from her, permanently. The loss shattered her. She no longer saw herself as a mother, but as a failure. She sank deeper into addiction, drowning in every dose, convinced there was nothing left to fight for. But her story was not finished. In a small town like Dothan, everyone knew everyone else's secrets, and one name carried weight like a curse: Shane Parker. A man with a dangerous reputation. He claimed to have served in the military, but after returning home, he became a thief and a hitman. His name alone spread fear, yet Lauren was drawn to him, as if intoxicated by his danger. Her chance came in late 2019, in the most unlikely of places, Dothan County Jail. Lauren had been sentenced to a short term for a minor charge, and Shane was also behind bars on far more serious accusations. They exchanged notes, letters, promises, through steel and concrete. When she was released, she waited for him. And when Shane walked free, their lives became instantly bound together. Their romance was chaos, destructive, loud, and spiraling. Her Aunt Erin begged her to leave him, even banning him from her home. But Lauren didn't care. She clung to him, day after day, in drugs and petty crime. Soon they moved together to Graceville, just a few miles away. There, Shane brought her into his darker circle. A man named Jeremy Peters, 20 years older, owner of a successful construction business in Florida, but the business was only a facade. His true trade was drugs. Peters was no ordinary dealer. He was a seasoned criminal, arrested multiple times on both state and federal levels. Yet somehow, he always slipped through the cracks. No one knew how. Shane became his right hand. And Lauren? She found herself sinking into the heart of a new nightmare, living in Peters' house, surrounded by crime and addiction. Their involvement in crime was never a secret. They flaunted it. Shane boasted of being a contract killer, ready to take a life for as little as $5,000. And Lauren, instead of feeling disgusted, laughed and said she would join him at the first opportunity. It didn't take long before words turned into action. In early 2020, Shane appeared at Jeremy Peters' house with a man named Raul Guillen. Raul, a Mexican immigrant who moved across U.S. states to support his family, had no idea he was walking straight into a deadly trap. He had met Shane in jail over a minor violation, and there, Shane promised him a job through Jeremy. Raul never realized that this job was the gateway to a dark world. Weeks later, Raul suddenly disappeared. His family raised the alarm, especially his daughter, who was used to his daily calls. She began searching on Facebook herself, only to be shocked by a picture of her father with a blonde woman from Alabama, Lauren Wambles, or as the world knew her, Aubrey Gold. She called Shane Parker, who denied knowing Raul's whereabouts, claiming he had gone back to Texas. But her final words to the police proved key. Her father's car, a blue Mercedes, was his pride and joy. When authorities later found it abandoned in a shabby auto shop, stripped for parts, the names on the service record were unmistakable: Shane Parker and Lauren Wambles. The police interrogated the pair, but they gave the same cold story. Raul had sold the car before leaving. With no hard evidence, the two walked free. The case seemed destined to vanish into darkness. Then, in August, a man named Joseph Bells walked into the police station carrying a heavy secret. He had been Jeremy's close friend for 25 years. One night, Jeremy confided in him with only 2 chilling words: "I trust you." Then he pointed to a spot in the woods. Beneath the soil, Raul was buried. Joseph led investigators to the site, triggering a large-scale operation. Cadaver dogs quickly signaled the exact location. The grave was carefully disguised, with cut trees hiding the traces. When the body was unearthed, it was wrapped in a college blanket, bound with duct tape, and partially covered with halved plastic barrels. The forensic report left no doubt. A single bullet to the back of the head, an execution in cold blood. The evidence pointed directly to 3 names: Jeremy Peters, Shane Parker, and Lauren Wambles. But when arrest warrants were issued, one was unnecessary. For Shane, his name had already become synonymous with death. Shane was not the only one behind bars on prior charges, but the investigation was expanding, and the first lead brought authorities to Jeremy Peters' home. What they found there was shocking. Blankets identical to the one Raul's body had been wrapped in, burnt pieces of fabric, and plastic barrels similar to those used to conceal his corpse. As for Lauren, she had returned to her aunt's house in Alabama, unaware that her end was drawing near. She was arrested on the spot and extradited to Florida as a suspect in the murder case. At first, she denied, lied, and deflected, but she was no hardened criminal. She was simply a lost girl carrying 2 names: Lauren Wambles and Aubrey Gold. Under pressure, she broke down and confessed the truth. The mastermind was Shane Parker, and the motive was nothing but jealousy. Lauren revealed that she had been intimate with Raul, and when Shane found out, his rage consumed him until he decided to end Raul's life. On the night of July 4th, 2020, while the 3 were drinking together, Shane laid out his plan. Jeremy supported it with false claims that Raul was tied to an international gang. The lie alone was enough to seal his fate. Lauren's task was to lure Raul to Jeremy's house under the pretense of celebrating. Raul arrived unsuspecting, with no idea of what awaited him. While he lit fireworks and gazed at the sky, Shane crept up and fired a single shot into the back of his head. Raul collapsed instantly, leaving nothing behind that night but an eerie silence. After long denial, Lauren provided investigators with a decisive piece of evidence: the location of the murder weapon, which had been cut apart and thrown into a storm drain. Sure enough, half of it was found exactly where she described. The picture was finally complete. The court ruled: Shane Parker, life in prison without parole. Jeremy Peters, 20 years. As for Lauren, she accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 10 years. Despite her fear of Shane, and despite investigators uncovering years of abuse and torment she had endured at his hands, her testimony was the final nail in the coffin of the case. Today, Lauren Wambles, Aubrey Gold, spends her days in prison until 2031. No longer the 18-year-old girl who ran away chasing fame, but a captive of her own wrong choices, bound by the heavy legacy of addiction, crime, and violence.